Hey everyone, I'm Kevin with My Shop Assist. In this video, I'm going to go over a new feature that I've been wanting for a super long time. This kind of goes into our overarching goal of kind of tying in everything related to the performance automotive world. So we've always had like kind of the jobs and working on projects and building cars kind of nailed down pretty good. And the next part of that, it's always been like ordering parts, and then beyond that was making the parts. So what I'm going to go over today is assemblies. And so if you are a manufacturer or make any of your own little parts, so in this example I'm going to do is like we make these little hoses for a flex fuel kit, and this is just a piece of the kit. So I'm going to go over how to do just, I guess, the assembly of this particular hose, which is a part of an assembly of a kit that we do. Yeah, I'm going to go over it. So let's get started. And before I switch over to the picture-in-picture, I want to describe kind of what I'm dealing with so you can understand what an assembly is, how they work. So the gist of it is when you manufacture things, the end product is a single line item on somebody's invoice. So let's say you wanted to buy this hose from me. On the invoice, you would just have Evo Dynamics flex fuel hose. And that was it. One line item, maybe $150 or whatever the hose is. I don't know what this thing's cost. We'll look when we build it out. But for me, this hose is not just one part. There's components to it. So I have the actual hose. I have a straight hose end. I have a 90-degree hose end, and then I have two quick release fuel adapters. So when that's broken down, it looks like this. So like just a piece of hose that I cut off of a longer loom of hose. I've got the -6 straight. I've got the -690, and then I've got the two fuel adapters, right? So that's the components of this hose. And then there's also a little bit of time to put it together. So let's go ahead and build this assembly in MSA, and I'll show you how it works. It's really slick. It allows you to sell an individual part, whether you have them on the shelf. It will let you know if you don't have any on the shelf, but you have the components to build one. Or if you don't even have the components to build one and what you need to order to make the part that you're trying to sell. And it does tie into Shopify. So if you sell an assembled part off of Shopify store, it will tell you if you need to build it. And it works with like our B2B system. So if you manufacture parts and sell it to other shops, they can order it and you can build it need to order, or build it to order. And so there's a whole lot of functionality in here. And there's a lot of people that do performance work that also manufacture parts that this, I think, is absolutely key to making MSA kind of an all-encompassing performance shop must-have. So let's go ahead and get started in it, and let's do this. Okay, so the first step to doing this is we need to make two parts. One is the completed assembled part, and the other piece is going to be the assembly. The assembly is a service or a task, and then we'll have some subcomponents attached to it, and then the end product is the single part. So let's start with the flex fuel hose, because I've already made this part here. So this is the Evo Dynamics Evo X flex fuel hose only. So if I click into this guy and I edit it, I've got a retail price, no wholesale price because we make it ourselves. Really, there's no other stuff in here that lets us know that this is an assembled part yet. But this is the part that we are going to be assembling. That is this piece. If you're on the little thing here, that's this assembled hose. So let's go ahead and now do an assembly. So the assemblies are done by going to your tasks, and then we will go ahead and add a new task. And I'm going to call this the flex fuel hose Evo X assembly. Now the key here is we have to make the pricing be assembly. So it's a new one that you'll see on your list there. What we do with this is the assemblies are not ever going to appear on customers' invoices, and they also do not appear on any reports for people as productivity. It will be efficiency, but not productivity, because you don't. This is not like a service you're selling to somebody. It's an internal service is what it is. So you want to have like an estimated time to build this hose. So for me, I can do it in like, I can do a bunch of them. I do them usually in batches, but let's just say if we do it in 6 minutes, that just makes the math easy. That's 1/10 of an hour. So we'll do 0.1. And then hourly rate is generally what you pay the person doing it in manufacturing. So we could say like maybe we're paying them $35 an hour or something like that. That's what we're paying the person to make the hose. So the assembly piece of this component costs $3.50 per hose to make. The next step we're going to do is we are going to do the parts we're going to attach to this. So there's several components to this. So the first thing we are going to do is the hose. So this is I just use Vibrant Hose -6. And this is it right here. Now this thing comes in a 50-foot spool. Obviously we don't use 50 feet of it on this particular part. And you can see the cool thing here is we're integrated into Turn 14 and Motor State, so we can see what our cost is for each of these spools of hose. So Turn 14, Motor State, both the same price. But we don't need 50 feet. We need like we'll do 16 inches. So we'll do 1.5 feet. And so I'm going to pull up my calculator here. Probably should just add a calculator or unit conversion in here. Clear. 1.5 divided by 50. There we go. We're going to use 0.03. We'll just do 0.025 to make it easy. 0.025. That's how much hose we need for this one particular thing out of a 50-foot spool. Okay. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add these quick release connectors here. So let's do the Vibrant -6 fuel quick disconnects. And we need 2 of these in each car. And again, this is really fancy because we're tied into Motor State and Turn 14. We see that both of them have it for the same price, and they both have plenty of them in stock. So I'm going to go ahead and add these to this part. And then we are going to add the Vibrant -6 90-degree hose end. Okay, we check again. Both the prices are the same. We only need 1 for this component. And then the last part is the Vibrant -6 straight hose end. So that one is right here. Check the pricing. We are up to date on pricing. Everybody's got a ton of them in stock, so we are good to go. Now we do track inventory on these subcomponents. So I have track inventory turned on for these Vibrant parts here, and you can see how many I actually have on hand, what my reorder point is, and then it will order off of these Turn 14 and Motor States quantity on hand. Okay, so I've got the components and I've got the labor on here. So this is now an assembly. If we click here, we can attach it to the flex fuel hose. This will make one of them. Let's go ahead and save it. Okay, so now our task is saved. So if we look at that thing again, I can see the flex fuel hose assembly is here. It's 0.01. It's an assembly. It's all there. If I go to my parts and look for the flex fuel hose, flex fuel hose only is right here. If I click on this guy and edit him, it is now attached to the assembly labor. And now we have a bill of materials. So if we look at this thing, the labor cost to build one is $3.50. The materials, so the hose ends, the quick disconnects, and the hose itself, that stuff alone costs us $52.21, not including any shipping. So, and if you sold it for straight retail, we would have a 38% margin, $72 plus the labor. So, you know, we're looking at $55.71 to make this hose. So we put that in our manufactured cost, and our retail price, probably pretty fair. We're making the hose ourselves. $100 is probably about right. You could come down a little bit if you really wanted to, like 90. So between 80 and 100 is kind of the margin you want on this thing for a hose that you're making yourself anyway. So let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so we now have the part, which is the part that we sell, and then we have the assembly to make the part. So let's go ahead and go into a job. So Ben Franklin wants one of these parts. So let's go ahead and go into the job here, and let's add the part to the guy's job. So flex fuel hose only. We want to add one of them, and it shows the assembly down here, and we don't have any in stock, so we're going to add this to a job. The first thing that comes up is, because I did not have any on the shelf, is this thing is going to tell low inventory detected. We do not have any on the shelf. You need to build one. It says we can build 4, so we have enough fittings to build 4 of these hoses. If I had a lot more of the hoses and the fittings, then I could build more of them. But currently with my inventory that I have on hand, at most I can do is 4. But because we are adding one to a job, we need to build at least one to at least cover the demand of this one job. But you can make more of them, and it will add it to your inventory for future use. So this job may spur you to make more of them, and you can just change the amount you want to build. So if you wanted to build like 3 of them, you could do that, and it will automatically increment the quantities of all the subcomponents that you need. So let's go ahead and build 3 of them in this case, because we are out. We need 1 for Ben Franklin and then 2 more for the shelf. So you can see down here on the parts here, the flex fuel hose. It's got a little hammer next to it, and if you click or if you hover over it, it will say waiting to be built. That means this is the assembly for it. The assembly section for building this component, it's going to be kind of a yellow tint to it, and also have the red eye with a line through it, which means it's not customer visible. It does not show up on the invoice. So if I go to the work order, all the customer sees is the 1 hose that they ordered or asked for. That's the only thing that's going to appear on this customer's invoice. But for us, this is like essentially a manufacturing order. And this is the component that we're building, and we're building 2 extra for stocking. So what I would do then is I would go in here and I would like start my timer as I'm building these hoses and assemble them. I would start my hose assembly. And as I'm working on these hoses and build them, when I'm done, I would hit complete. And what that will do is it will automatically start incrementing the hoses that we have. So in this case, we drop below our reorder point. So now that we're low on these hose ends, it's going to want us to order the hose ends because I have 1 left on each of them in the shelf. So if I go back to my parts here and I go to my Vibrant, both of the straight hose end in the -6, we're down to 1. And same for the 90-degree hose end, we're on 1, and our reorder point is 3. So if you hover over this, it's going to ask you to order more of them, which it was doing on that job. So we can go back into this job. It already flagged those parts as need to order because they're below the reorder point. So if I go to my order status page, if I go to need to order page, I have those Ben Franklin hoses right here, or the hose ends. Both of them are already flagged as need to order. And I can actually, click these parts here, create PO. It's connected to turn 14. That's who the default vendor is for these things for me. I can go and combine the order if I want to get them from a certain warehouse. So in this case, Arlington has them in stock. Arlington has both of them in stock. So I could just do combine order from Arlington and mark it as ordered. And if you see what we have here, turn 14 will show us the shipping method. So if I ordered these, I'd have them tomorrow, and the cost of shipping is $12. So I'm actually not going to order these right now. I can order more of them when I need to actually order them. Okay, so going back into this job. So that's the gist of it. That's how you manufacture parts. And then how all the subcomponents are, you track inventory with all of them, marking them as need to order, tracking time on how long it takes to build these assemblies. The assemblies are not on the invoice for the customer, but they do let you build them. You can do subtasks within an assembly. So if you have many steps, if you're doing some actual machining, actual like maybe some CNC, some flanges or something, or you're doing steps on a lathe and a mill, you can add all your services in here and they will be subtasks within this assembly here. So that can also be done. And we also do allow nesting of components. So you can have a parent assembly, and you can have assembled parts as part of the parent assembly. So you can nest them as well. So all that sort of stuff, just play with it, kind of, understand how it works. If you have any questions, just reach out to me and I can help you with whatever we need. If it's missing something, let me know. I guess the only last other thing that might be necessary for people is if you ever want to do the pick list, this will show you all your components that you need to pick. And if you store locations of where you store them, and where everything is. So that's kind of how all this works. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Thanks.